Welcome back to Cradle to Grave R. My name is Mark, and I'm going to show you today, in this series actually, I'm going to show you how to create websites using R and a theme called Hugo, which is written in the Go language, and how to actually publish these to the websites, right, for free. All of it completely free. The only thing that would cost money is if you wanted your own specific domain name, like cradletogravr.com. That would cost you like $12 a year. Other than that, we're going to create a dynamic, static site. Now I say that because it's static, but it's dynamic because you can update it with R, click a couple buttons, and the site has been updated. You can also add in third-party add-ons that'll add like a discuss channel or discuss add-on to your blogs where people can actually comment. So it's a static site technically, but it's going to be very dynamic in nature. So stay tuned. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my current R site down completely from the WordPress site that I have, which is I don't want to pay the money for it anymore. And I'm going to create that site using R, and I'll show you how to do that. In this little mini series I'm going to put together, we're going to create some actual websites using R to publish them and do all the work. We're not going to really just use R though. We're going to download a couple of packages. We're going to use Hugo as a theme generator, and we're going to create a static website that's not really static. It just technically it's static, but it's actually dynamic. You're going to create blogs. You're going to be able to update them. You're going to be able to publish them for free using either GitLabs, GitHub, or Netlify. And you can also have your own unique domain name. Now that part costs. So if you own the domain name for $12 a year, you can definitely tie it to Netlify and GitLabs. If you don't own your own domain name, you can still do this. So follow along. It's a completely free. Everything about this is free except for if you own your own domain name. So if you get stuck at any time and I'm confusing you, there's a website called blogdown.org where I've learned most of these instructions. So I'm just putting it in video format and I'm going to add to it as we go. But what you want to do is you want to install a package called Blogdown first. I'm not going to click install because I've already installed it. But when you do that, it should take maybe a couple of minutes depending on your internet connection. It's going to install all the dependencies, everything it needs to get Blogdown started. Now, once you do that, there's also another set of tools you'd want to download called DevTools. Now, if you go to install, again, if you're still installing Blogdown, I recommend pausing this video so that Blogdown can finish installing. So it's called DevTools, and you can download that just by doing the same thing. Go to the package manager, packages install, and type in DevTools, install. Now the next thing you want to do after that works, you want to use the Blogdown. You just type in Blogdown, : so that's the namespace, the scope of this function. I'm going to use a function called install Hugo, as you can see below. So it says install Hugo. I've already done that as well. That's about as far as I've gotten though. So the rest is just basically new for me. So once you do that, I'm going to actually run that and see what it says. So it's going to install Hugo, which is a theme. Hugo is a theme for websites built using the Go language. You don't have to know any of that right now. You don't have to know anything about HTML, nothing. You just literally install it and it does its thing. So it's installed. Hugo has been installed. That was very simple. Luckily, Blogdown made it easy to install Hugo. That's basically what's going on here. Now, the best way to learn anything is to actually create the example, right? So within just minutes, we're going to create the example. File, new project. I don't care about saving this one. I want to go to a new directory, and I'm going to call it a new project. You could do, now that I have Blogdown, I could say website using Blogdown, but let's just go with new project so we can start from scratch and say, hey, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to create in my documents, I will create a new folder called site test, whatever you want to call it. That's where I'm going to place this new site. And this will be my first R site with Hugo, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, let's create the project, and you'll see it's just a blank project like all of your projects are when you first start, just like this. So the next thing you want to do, and this is so simple, is you just type in blogdown new _ site, Boom. And now it's going to generate everything I need to create a website through R. And you can see my computer's pretty fast, but you can see over here in the viewer, I already have a website. In fact, I could pop this out, I think, somehow, maybe. Pop it out. Boom. Oh, wow. When I pop it out, it actually goes to my browser that is default. So that's cool. So I'll just keep this up here in this area and show you that, look, here, these are two blogs. This is a link, LI, I'm not sure what that is. About page, if I click on it, you get to it. And you can hit back. I can actually check out my blog post with code. This is pretty interesting. So you're already there. You've already created a website. Now, granted, this is locally hosted on your computer. I'm going to X that out. You can also do those things within the viewer here. As you can see, I will actually change me to be a little bit higher, I suppose. In fact, I wanted me to be this big, I think. Very small. I want me to just be a talking head. So we've got that talking head going. Now, this works. I mean, within here, I can click on About, I can click on GitHub, and then GitHub's actually a link, so it actually will pull up your link, and Twitter and all that stuff. But there's many things you can do. So this is really cool stuff to do with R, and eventually I'm going to show you guys how to use GitLabs and actually publish straight from R. So you're going to be doing code. In fact, I've used this a long time ago, but without reading the instructions, I'm going to show you what this file is. I'm going to give you what's going on here. So first, let's go to the files here. So let's start up there. In this file setup here, it's going to be in that directory that I had. So when I go to my File Explorer, I can go to File Explorer here, bring it on over, and go to Documents, and I called that Site Test, My First R with Hugo. And now you see all of these different files. I'm not going to play with it here within the Explorer because it's already down here in my RStudio IDE. So under Files, if you click on the Files tab, you'll see the same thing. A couple of things to note. You want a config file, which is called config.toml. And toml is like, you've probably heard of YAML, yet another markdown language. It's just another markdown language to have the interpreters interpret these things as they should be, right? I have an index.rmd, and then if you look at the title of this actual tab here, it's actually like a post. It's a hello R markdown, right? And if we go back to the viewer, let's click on that. If I go back to the main site right here, a plain markdown post 2016, hello R markdown. So this right here is this post. So when I click on it, you can read this post, and it's just an RMD file. And I know I've showed you guys some RMD files, some markdown files. So let's take a look at it. The only thing that's slightly different, actually not even, because you've seen this YAML code before, 1 through 7, if you follow the rest of the tutorials, I believe. That's just YAML code. It's got a title, Hello R Markdown. That's the title of my blog. Who's the author? What's the date? Categories. You can configure a lot of this stuff elsewhere, but we'll get into that in future tutorials. Now we have a code chunk. What is this code chunk? Well, it's R because it's backtick, 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 R, and then it's got a few parameters set. And then line 10 is just saying, hey, we're going to knit this using these parameters as well. And knitting, really, this is defaulted here. You'll probably never change this most likely. But now, pound R markdown. We saw that hashtag here, that pound, whatever you want to call it. It's got the single header. You can read that here. You see the R markdown, how it's bigger? Well, it's because it's a header. It's got that pound. If I change this to double pound, and then I run it, no, how do I knit? I haven't checked that out yet. I could serve the site. We'll get into that later. So let's forget about changing it for now. But there's ways. So there's a couple of things I'm going to show you in future tutorials. When you update, I can make it so that you can update this and you'll have a browser open. And as you update, it changes it on the browser. So you truly get to know what it looks like in real time, right? We haven't got that far yet, so I'm going to keep this all the same for now. I'm just describing the bits and pieces now. This is an R Markdown document. Look at it down here in the actual thing. This is an R Markdown document. It's nice, right? And you even have a link. You could see that the link has the brackets, and that's just basically the R Markdown syntax. So we know it's kind of highlighted there, but we know that that's a hyperlink because it's got the bracket notation here. Anyways, you also have the cars data set. So not empty cars, but just cars. My favorite is empty cars, I guess. But anyways, they're just calling us cars. So you can name your chunks. We haven't talked about that too much, but every chunk can have a name. So you can use the name to your advantage for different things. You can call chunks from other parts of the code. You can recall a chunk, kind of like a function, but we didn't get into that either. But anyways, in this code, we have the summary of cars. We have a model. Oh, we've already talked about linear models in the statistics model and set of tutorials. So what are we modeling here? Let's just go and do a little backtracking here. We have a linear model. We're going to say, hey, I want to know if distance can be explained by the speed, right? And what's my data? I'm going to bring in cars. That you see here, you see the summary where it gives you the summary statistics. And then, what does it say? You can embed R chunk like this. You have your summary, you have your fit. And when you call fit, it's just giving you the intercept and the speed right here. But it's all in there. And then, of course, they're going to show a plot here in a second, and I'll show you that as well. So included plots. You can also embed plots. Oh, and this is kind of cool. You have this \ref fig pi. So it looks like we can do some sort of like bibliography references, and we should definitely explore that soon, right? So again, it's just more R here. Now, the only fancy thing that you might not have seen was, okay, they named the chunk called pi. They have a figure caption, which is automatically captioning things. And then tidy equals false. I don't remember what that means, but that's all it is. But that's it. That's it right there. Now let's go back to our files here. I already gave up on the instructions, so I apologize. But I want to kind of give you an idea of what's going on with all these files, because you've created a lot of files with this one project. And so we have the config.toml. I believe I can edit that here. Yeah, here we go. So right here, I just clicked on config.toml, TOML, and you have all kinds of configuration settings, and you can add more and change things. And we're going to be going into these to make those changes, like these Twitter sites, GitHub sites. You change them to your own, and then you can add all kinds of different parameters to help you out. Logo.png, where is that located? We can go find that out as well. So let's get out of the config.toml, and I'm going to show you more about this file structure here. So we also have content and we have public. Those are the two I want you to focus on. The content is actually where you create the content, right? If I have a post, so this blog post right here, 2015-07-23 rmarkdown.rmd, that file name is under content. Let's actually check that out, because that's actually pretty important. So let's go to, this is not it, but documents. I think I did, yeah, it was site test. Okay, my first R site with Hugo, double click on that, and I said content's important. Let's double click on content. What do we have? I have about.md, but that's not a post. You saw the about page, but then I have this post folder. So let's go to post. Now it's confusing because this isn't really a post on your website. This is a post that we could put on our website. And when we choose to render this and push it to the GitLab or the Netlify, right? All these free services that'll host websites for free, then it'll be a real post. But these are like basically pinned in posts. And what do we have here? We have a MD file, so a markdown file. We have an RMD file. And let's scroll down here. We have 2015-07-23, 2015-07-23 rmarkdown.rmd. So the RMD file is what we're dealing with, which is located here. That's truly where this file is located, under the R environment. That's very important now because it's confusing. Let's go back to the beginning here, and let's click on public. Now in public, these are different. Not R. You should never have to interact with public. Don't mess with public until you really know what you're doing. Because the R, when you render this finally, when you generate the site, R will push all of that information to this public folder. So when you're all said and done, the only thing that your host needs to see is the public folder. So don't get confused. So we have a folder called post here, right? And we have this 2015-07-23. We have figures. We have all these things. We didn't do any of that. Don't post in public for now. Do not mess with public. Just mess with content. The content is what you're messing with. So if you made a mistake and you don't want that blog, you can delete the RMD file, regenerate everything, and then your public folder, because you regenerated it, the public folder will be updated. So let's say you deleted 25 different posts from your content folder and you didn't update your site, they'll still be there and it'll confuse you. So once you update and generate the site again, it takes care of that. You can delete your public folder and regenerate it all day long as you have everything you need in the content. That's all I'm trying to say. It's very confusing, but I think that's enough to get started today. It doesn't seem like much, but it's actually doing a tremendous amount of things in the background that's going to help us out. I'm going to show you how to publish these. It's going to be a pretty fun little tutorial. So if you want to follow along some more, please do, and subscribe, like, etc. And comment below if you have any issues. I'll try to answer them. Comment below if you have already created one or want to just say hi. So I will see you guys in the next one.